Welcome. We're going to shift gears here and transition from a strategic education to an operational education.
The change control process is the review and tracking of changes applied to the production environment. The chances of getting it right the first time increase through documentation and communication of any type of technology change, whether the change is large with an implementation of a new service or as small as a simple report change. This process aids in assessing the impact to end users, the university, and other IT systems. Utilizing a consistent change process reduces errors and provides our engineers with documentation of what has changed to aid in troubleshooting with technical issues. Reaching a solution to problems is expedited when all changes are documented. The goal today is to learn the change process case ITS follows. The change control process aids in the following. Ensures change control windows are in sync with the maintenance windows as determined in service level agreements and by the university community. Helps the ITS service desk in troubleshooting system problems that are called in from users. Allows access to information and ample time to communicate potential impacts the technology changes may have on user communities. Allows system changes and maintenance updates to be shared organizationally, so conflicts or impacts on the user community can be reduced or eliminated. Ensures support documentation remains current with system changes. The items covered by change control are all changes to end user facing environments, any facility or environment changes, i.e. phone lines, computer lines, network locations, etc. Any installation or updating of software for production. All infrastructure changes. Any change that is required to go through the code promotion process to production. The roles in change management are change initiator, the person entering the change request. Change initiator can also be the change assignee. Change assignee, the person actually implementing the changes, also responsible for entering resolution notes and actual start and end dates. Change assignee can also be the change initiator. Change approver, the manager or director who is responsible for reviewing and submitting the change to the change control meeting for approval. Also responsible for representing the change request in the IT change control meeting. Change approver cannot be the change assignee. Change manager, the person who will provide the formal approval of the request for change in the change control meeting. Change advisory board, or CAB, has a week-in review meeting to understand all changes and emergency changes that occurred over the week. All changes will be entered into the change control system. Any unscheduled change or a change that is requested and not presented at the change control meeting must be entered as an emergency change and follows the emergency change procedures. An emergency change is an error or problem causing complete loss of a high priority capability in which the system cannot function. This kind of problem cannot be left unattended, and the error must be corrected immediately. An emergency change must be approved by the director of the assignee and the chief operating officer before it can be implemented. Approval for the change can occur face-to-face or by email or a phone call, but must be documented. The Footprints Change Management Module is the system of record for entering changes for Case Information Technology Services. Each change must have a separate request for change, or RFC, entered and approved in the system. In the normal scheduling and approval process, the change initiator enters a request in the change control system with the following required fields filled out. Change control number, automatically generated unique identifier for the change. Change initiator, the person entering the change request. Change assignee, the person responsible for implementing the change request. Description should be a subject most closely related to the proposed change. For example, if the change is for a specific server, then the subject description should include the server name and any applications or services running on that server. If the change is for software, then the correct application should be listed along with the server on which the application resides. Priority relates to the impact on the university and scheduling of the change request. Major, the potential risk to the client is large or an outage of the system is guaranteed. Minor, the potential risk to the client is minimal. No outage will occur. Urgent, the change must occur before the next change control meeting. Multiple departments and/or multiple applications would be adversely affected if the change were not made immediately. Refer to the emergency change management procedures. Standing, recurring changes such as firewall changes or generator tests. Scheduled start date, planned start time. Scheduled end date, planned end time. Services affected, list all services affected and/or involved with the change. Associated ticket, help desk incident ticket number, move add change or MAC number, simple work request or SWR number, project number that the change will resolve. Rollout plan, specify rollout plan including technical details. Backout plan, specify backout plan including technical details. Test plan, specify test plan including details. Once the change initiator has completed the change, the status should be changed to submitted and then saved. This moves the change into the pending status. This will send the RFC to the assignee's manager. The manager must then accept the change to be included in the regular change meeting for official approval. In the meeting, the change approver will bring up the pending approval report to review and discuss each change. Managers and attendees should review the report prior to each meeting. Each change will either be approved or rejected during the meeting. Information Technology Services maintains a list of exceptions, which are changes that do not need to be entered into Change Control System. The change is performed without the review of the change control meeting, and an urgent change does not have to be entered for a same-day change. Additional items can be added to the exceptions list. All exceptions must be submitted to the Change Control Manager for review. The Change Manager and the CAB will review the request and either add it to the list or deny. I'd like to walk you through the flow diagram so you understand the difference in the processes from an emergency change versus a regular change. Let's start with the question, is this an emergency change? If the answer is no, you enter a change into a system. You fill out or update the change request fields. It is sent to your immediate supervisor for approval. If the change is approved, it gets submitted to the change control meeting. In the change control meeting, it is reviewed by the entire team, not just the change control manager. The meeting is used to facilitate education and communication around what changes will be occurring and when they will occur. Impact assessments to the entire university are done in that meeting. The meeting is used to determine if the change should move forward or not. If the change moves forward, it's approved for suggested and requested time, and the change then gets executed and documented as such. In the change control meeting, if it does not get approved, it goes back to the person who submitted the change. They update the request based on the reason it was denied, and they go through the process again. When the change is implemented, it should be updated with its actual start and end time and the resolution of what happened. If the change is not successful, the change must be marked unsuccessful, and it will go back through the process. If the change is successful, it's marked as such and closed. The change manager will review all successful or unsuccessful changes and then close out the change control formally. That is the normal change control process. Let's go back to the question, is this an emergency change? If the answer is yes, then the end user requesting the change will generate an emergency change record in the change control system. This will trigger automatic notifications to that person's manager, director, and the Chief Operating Officer or Deputy CIO. All three are required to give either a verbal or electronic approval of the change. At that point, the person who is required to do the change has permission to perform their actions and troubleshoot as needed in order to restore service where it needs to be. Once the change is complete, it needs to be marked as successful or unsuccessful, and then the change manager will close it. If the change assignee does not get approval, verbally or electronically, and the change is executed, review will come in the production ops meeting, which happens daily, to understand where the process broke down. Additional resources for change management reference can be found on the CWRU Change Control Google site. Reference documents include detail on the change control process and a user guide to footprints.
Welcome back! Today we learn more about change control management procedures. Change control is an essential part of our process to review and track changes applied to our production environments. Our change control process increases first time right and allows visibility into the changes of our production systems. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about change management. The Portfolio and Process Management Office is available to answer questions, assist you with any process constraints, and work with staff across the campus.